Good morning, Dan. And in for Amy this morning is Sean from Elmwood Park. And
pruning the audience.
Yes, there's no question about that. Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm passing along your comments, bon mots, to Sean from Elmwood Park. So perhaps we can modify his conduct. If you want an antidote for the fatalism that afflicts Illinois, I can't think of a better one than a gentleman named Bob Anderson. Bob Anderson, if I'm remembering correctly, came to McHenry County in 1947. So
That's when cars were cars, baby.
You want to talk about somebody who's been in for the long haul and has fought the fight against the kleptocracy that Illinois has become. There's a lot of people, a lot of politicians run around talking about things like government consolidation, eliminating redundancies in government in a state that has the most units of government and the most elected officials in the country. Bob Anderson's been fighting that fight for the better part of the last 3 decades, while also operating a barber shop in McHenry Township, where he serves as a trustee. And it's been painstaking, but some progress is being made thanks to Bob Anderson's stick-to-itiveness. There is a referendum on the November ballot up McHenry Township Way that would abolish the township's road district and bring it under the purview of the Township Board of Trustees. And you think that this is a relatively minor thing, perhaps, but this is a minor thing happening all over the state that turns out to be a major thing. And how major is it? How difficult is it to accomplish what, to hear me describe it, sounds like a relatively simple good government move? Well, I'll let Bob Anderson tell you just how difficult it is and what you're up against. Bob Anderson, McHenry Township trustee, Wonder Lake, Barber. Thanks so much for joining us, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for those kind words.
Well,
how tough it is,
yes.
I guess it's pretty hard to find the words for that without repeating myself, except that the resistance to pushback, I use the word mob action. When you go to a trustee meeting, when I'm there, it's very embarrassing to have people shout things at me, scream at me, say things there, and they'll say, well, what does he know? He's just a barber. These people are brought in by the township officials to actually scare me off of my position, which is not going to happen. But I can take those things as a personal situation, but when you sit there as an elected official and hear things that people will say to protect this entity, kind of escapes my words right now, Dan, but it's just not right.
Well,
it's an embarrassment.
Bob,
Bob,
tell us what this would do, this referendum, if passed, what it would do, and who are the vested parties that are so opposed to it? What's the reason?
Okay, well, first, I'm not going to use the word if. We're going to win it.
Okay? All right.
You don't win things if you say if. You only win it if you're determined to win it.
Okay, yes, sir.
And the vested parties basically would be the political establishment that supports all of our government officials in the state of Illinois, and it starts at the township level. And, I'm bringing this up, too. I just had a great conversation last night with one of my supporters, and that would be, why is that road commissioner even elected? That should be somebody that should be hired by the township board and overseeing that. But we have the supervisor. He votes against us. He's been connected with our road commissioner. They both were appointed to their positions. Our supervisor was a trustee, got appointed to a supervisor. The road commissioner was a trustee, got appointed there. And all these things kind of go from one little building block to another, and then they start supporting people at the county level, and then from the county level to the people you put down in Springfield.
And they're all working together because there are salaries and benefits at stake, and we saw this play out in one of the most extreme examples on record, which is in McHenry County, not your township, but Algonquin Township, and Bob Miller, the highway commissioner there, who was defeated the last municipal election. But that was after half a century of fleecing taxpayers, of $400,000 worth of families on salary just for that small township's highway department. And this is some of the abuse I assume you're referencing.
no question about it. And also, speaking of Bob Miller, would be that his wife would be on the county board for year after year.
Shocking.
In his office, and not one person on that county board, because I've attended quite a few county board members, not one person would absolutely stand up and say publicly that, Anna Mae, you should not be you should not be on this county board and hold a seat there. You should resign as long as you have those two jobs.
Well,
but no, nobody stood up.
Bob, with an attitude like yours, you're never going to get a video poker game, a liquor license, or a marijuana distribution license. And these are going to be the only things in Illinois that's left. It's called the Sam Giancana Economic Plan. So I wanted to tell you that. Number two, Bob, I'm only really good at two things, and one of them's fighting in a parking lot. So you tell me when your next meeting is, and I'd love to come up there, and let's see how they yell.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll tell you what, our meetings are this at 7 o'clock at the second Thursday of the month.
Well, Bob, tell.
And I'm not so sure now. I'll tell you, it'd be interesting. You're all anybody invited from the press for sure, because it's an open meeting. But I'll tell you that I'm not so sure now that it'll be so violent. It could be, but the night that we got this vote reversed, that we failed by a 3-2 vote back in January, in February when we got it through, that was the night everybody should have been there to see what was going on. They loaded the meeting up with road commissioners as far away as Wakanda, and it was I was threatened that night. I filed another trustee said we both were threatened. We filed police reports the next day. The Johnsville police showed up at the end of the meeting. 2 squad cars, 2 police people came in there, officers.
Sounds like a party.
It's just terrible.
And your business has been vandalized as well for your positions, right?
That's correct. I've had nails thrown in my barber shop the day after the election, a year ago in April, a year coming up this April. I'm working in the afternoon. A customer left, comes back in and said, "Bob, look what I found." And he's got nails behind the cars out there, 59 of them. Then a few weeks later, I had nails that were put behind my car at my home. I live about 4 blocks in a barber shop. I just recently had a guy go by from the township. He wasn't in the township truck, but he had a township shirt on that keeps you from a safety vest on. But he saw me looking out the window. He gives me the finger. They thrown cans. My barber shop's got an apartment on it, so it's quite a long building. The
and we got to pay their pensions.
Just thrown at the barbershop end of it. There was a message there.
And McHenry Township Highway Commissioner James Condon has said that you're not spending your time and energy providing proof that what you propose to do with this consolidation saves any substantial taxpayer dollars. He said, and I've spoken with Condon before, I believe. He seemed like a reasonable guy, but he suggests that you're telling half-truths and that there's no proof that you're going to save taxpayer money with this consolidation. How do you respond?
I respond to that very plainly. First of all, this is a simple, common-sense question, and what that question is going to be for the voters to decide on is, do you want the road commissioner? It's not just Jim Condon or my road commissioner, McHenry Township. It's every road commissioner in the state of Illinois. Should that road commissioner have this kind of power? They have more power for spending public money than the governor of Illinois. And the question for the voters to decide is this: do you want a committee of one, the road commissioner, to make a decision, in this case $3 million, and also hiring and firing, or do you want that to be transferred over to the township board where you have a committee of 5 overseeing that? You don't need an expensive study for that. And another, I haven't really put this out yet, but this is the first time I'm going to use it, and I talk to people that come in the barbershop, or my supporters, though, is why doesn't Jim Condon come out and say, why doesn't he come out and say, let's have a study, see if it's going to cost more? You can just reverse that. But that is nothing but stall tactics, and then all evolved of one of the meetings when they brought in my state representative, Steve Wright, and Steve Wright gets up there and makes a big deal about you cannot move forward. You must have a study on this to prove that you're going to save money. Otherwise, and then he said, I'd be for it. Well, then, of course, he enters that bill, and that bill got buried in committee. But now they've got somebody in the Senate now coming up in the Senate with a similar bill that you must have a study to prove before the voters can have a chance to weigh on a simple subject like this. to prove that you're going to save money. This is more about saving money. The savings are becoming the future, but right now this is about reducing the size and cost of government. We have those 7,000 governments. Somewhere you got to start someplace, and I think this is a perfect place to start.
Well, and it's the point that you raise. I think what you're getting to is this game that's played by public officials. Is hey, don't go after my fiefdom, go after somebody else's fiefdom. Like, so I agree in principle that we have too many units of government, too many public officials, too many taxing bodies. Government is too expansive, too redundant, too expensive in Illinois. I agree with all that, but just don't go after my sinecure or my position or my unit of government. Go after somebody else's, and so they have you in this perpetual shell game. The Constitution, state Constitution, provides for a referendum to eliminate township government. And it's not this consolidation wouldn't be a first of its kind, but it's unfortunately fairly rare. But you're always in this shell game with the political class, and nobody wants to provide the leadership. And so, hey, the response to me for you, Bob, would people say, hey, why are you targeting the road commissioner, not X, Y, or Z? Hey, I'm showing leadership where I can. If you all or other people want to show leadership at the municipal level or the county level or the state level, super fantastic. I mean, the whole point is, I think, part of your example is hoping that other people will pick it up and replicate it.
Well, there's a question, those are great words that really feed into what I've been trying to accomplish. But first of all, I want to correct you that we do have a local representative here, David McSweeney.
Yeah, right.
He is standing up for the people. He's taking this issue on. He is saying that he wants to, and he knows this, okay? And he knows that we do not have the people that have got the backbone or the guts that are in the General Assembly or county or municipal government that take on this whole thing about all these fiefdoms. But what he's saying is, let's get something on the ballot and let the people decide. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so frustrating about Jim Condon and all these road commissioners that have supported that Bob Miller down through the years, is that they are afraid of the people. And even when they get on the ballot, they have so much money, so much clout. It's going to be a fierce battle. But we're going to win this, though, because it is a common sense question, and people are tired of this. In addition to this, as you have said on the program, too, and it's in the papers all the time, people are leaving Illinois by the droves. In the last, since 2010, we've lost over 500,000 residents here. If you lose 500,000 residents, don't you think you can buy less government?
Mm-hmm.
No, not in this state. People do not have the backbone to stand up. And what I say quite often to customers in the barber shop is, if we had elected officials, which you alluded to, Dan, was this: if they were doing their job, you wouldn't even know about me.
Mm-hmm.
It would be done. But they don't have the guts to do it. And even now, even though that this is getting a lot of news coverage, the momentum is building up. Where are they? I'm not getting calls from anybody that say, Bob, for instance, like my state senator, Pamela Eltoff. I've been in her office, I don't know how many times, dealing with stuff. Some of the things that she'd go to with them, okay, we got a little bit there, but I always got a disappointment. She never had any leadership. And now I find her name on that, and I can't remember the senator that's taken up that new bill that you have to have a study here, but she is the first chief co-sponsor on that. That is so frustrating to me. But there again, it's backstabbing and how we deal with people for the public that come in the office, yeah, Bob, you're right. But when it comes down to get something accomplished, nothing's there.
Well, that's because we don't have enough Bob Andersons in the state. I mean, it's just as simple as that. We don't have enough people that are courageous. We don't have people willing to suffer the slings and arrows that you've suffered to prosecute the case. But I'm glad that you are doing it. He is Wonder Lake Barber Bob Anderson, McHenry Township trustee, chairman of Citizens for Consolidation. This is the group pushing the referendum in McHenry Township this November. Bob, thanks so much for joining us and telling your story and putting in the fight. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the kind words. Have a nice day and happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you and your family. And he joined us on the turnkey.pro answer line.